doesn't work, but you know, Verizon's taking care of us. Thank you, Lori. And I want to talk to you about the thank you machine, because all of you guys are going to turn into massive thank you machines, and that's really what happens in social. That's really when you stroke other people's ego, how you create value, how you're able to grow your business, how you get product feedback, how you build it into every one of your processes. 20 years ago, I was a student at SMU. Mustangs, go Mustangs. And my mentor was Al Casey, who was the CEO of American Airlines. He was the one who put in Bob Crandall. And he taught me a lot about, in spite of the whole, you know, being kind of a jerk and negotiating with the unions and that kind of thing, he taught me a few things that I wanted to pass on to you guys 2 decades later. There's 14 tips, and I'll read a few of them for you. Number 5, do all possible to help your boss raise his or her status. Number 8, work at giving the perception and the fact that you are aware of the feelings and goals of others. Number 10, ask for help and show that you appreciate it. It's the best way to make friends. You know, how to lose friends and alienate people. Dale Carnegie, that kind of thing, right? And I posted this just a few days ago, and it got 450 something likes and shares, and you know, a ton of engagement, because this is what happens in the age of social, is that when you say something positive, people want to reciprocate. And so when you say thank you, that's the magic that unlocks everything. It's not about being a social media guru. It's about finding ways at scale to say thank you. So what are those 2 words that we need to say? It's thank you, right? Okay. Yesterday morning, one of my friends, Jason Miller, keynoted in London. And he now runs global content marketing at LinkedIn. So he's the LinkedIn guy. He's got his LinkedIn books, LinkedIn this, and all that. And 10 years ago, he was a lonely, lowly digital marketer at Sony. He was a musician. He didn't really know much about digital marketing, but he worked hard. And I knew him back then. And then he became the guy at Marketo, and he helped Marketo grow. And he brought us in to grow the social and lead gen. And it's kind of funny when you're teaching Marketo how to do marketing automation. I thought that was ironic. And a few years ago, he became the guy at LinkedIn, put his books out, this kind of thing. And by saying thank you all along, that's blossomed into something that you can't measure the ROI of. Okay? So this is something, when he published one of his first books, and he said, would you be willing to review my book and say something in the foreword? And I basically said, well, yeah, because when I have my book out, you're going to do the same thing for me, right? We're going to have this mutual admiration society going on. And here it is. You got it. I'll send 3 your way. And I said, nice, you are a rock star. And he said, thanks, Dennis. You are way too kind, blah, blah, blah. I'll tell everyone about it. And then he continues to say these things. And when I see his statuses, we'll just go to his profile, because we're doing this live, right? All kinds of bad things could happen when you do things live. So that's the risk. But the way you say thank you is sometimes saying it, and sometimes the smallest act of thank you is just to come in and click like. Is just to come in and retweet them and follow them. Not be creepy about it, right? You have to develop relationships over time. Otherwise, every time you move, you got to tell where the elementary schools where you are, right? No, I'm kidding. So you can see on Twitter, people are saying great things, right? Teresa just said this 33 seconds ago. When you say thank you, it's the magic that opens other doors. Thank you this, thank you that. Now you're going to find some people on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, in person that are going to say thank you. And then when they say something that's positive, you're going to use this magic word. And let's see if I can find one that I can quote here. Oh, that's not a good one. It's usually when I'm looking for one, let's see if I can find a good. There's a lot of these.
Thank you.
Oh, there's Joel. Joel's in the middle there, right? But if he says something good, then I'm going to reply, and this is what you should say. If he said something positive, you say, can I quote you on that? Question mark, winky. Okay? So when you capture thank you, because you're giving thank yous and you're getting thank yous. So when you capture a thank you, you want to be able to get lightweight consent, is what that's legally called. The right to be able to use it on all the rest of your materials. Now, if you're capturing that, of course he's going to reply and say, why, of course. And then you're going to get the kind of stuff that I was just showing you. So if you've got that collected, you're going to put it into a spreadsheet. And over the course of your career, you're going to collect this clout, authority, this influence, and you're going to categorize it by who said it, by their industry, by their influence, by what event it was, by what state they're in, by whatever it is. You're collecting this. This is your bank account balance. In a world where machines can do everything and the price of stuff gets competed down to nothing and commodity stuff, the true currency you have is the influence. And that influence comes from saying, thank you. You say thank you, they say thank you. The most obvious of things are the most profound. Now, how do you say thank you at scale? How do you become a thank you generating machine without seeming to be fake and obsequious? How do you do it in the most legitimate way? Because Mark Twain said that the key to success is to be genuine. Fake that, you got it made. So how do you do this at scale? You have to be a giving content marketer. You have to share freely of what you know. And for us, for example, for my personal brand, which we're doing for other people too, and this is what this guide is, we'll talk about that in a moment. You've got to be able to publish at scale. You have to have such efficiency in how you produce content that it doesn't get in the way of your actual production of whatever your product is or service, right? If you're an agency, if you're internal, if you're creative, you're in-house, whatever it is. These are our logins, by the way. I don't think it has the, yeah, it's over on the right side. I'm not going to scroll over. But these are WordPress logins to some high authority sites in marketing, right? And then here are thousands of articles that we have written with assistance from our content team. Of course, I can't write all of them. Here are mentions where there are different people that are saying positive things, and then we reply back, can I quote you on that? So if you know that word of mouth before the internet has always been the most powerful form of marketing, how do you get that at scale? Well, obviously you need to do things. You need to provide such a killer product or service or experience, such wow, that they can't help but say, wow, that was amazing, thank you so much. So actually, it's not that you're good at social media, it's that you care in your heart. And that flows its way all the way through everything that you do. And that results in these mentions, right? And then you amplify these mentions. That gives you product feedback. That helps break down organizational walls between different departments. Now, if you have a process to put this together, you know that your company's brand power in content marketing is the sum of individual personal brand profiles, because social is always about these people. So if you collect authority, I'll click on any one of these random ones, for example, right? There's me, John Loomer, and our 22-year-old CEO, Alex Howe, right? When you collect these and you say thank you, is this Lisa doing this one, right? You saw that one, right? This was last year, right? Now she's going to take a picture of a picture. What happens when you say thank you to a conference organizer or to someone who's important in social media? What happens when you say thank you? They say thank you back. They post on social. So it creates this avalanche snowball effect, right? So this is really inception, because you're the dream. You're doing the dream inside the dream inside the dream. When you say thank you to someone who's influential, then their community becomes your community. All your community belong to us. So there is a process that you can do this. We call that repeatable excellence, client love, which is part of the collection of influence, which is part of this social amplification engine, which is what this guide is that you have in front of you. Now, these things are happening all the time in your everyday life. You might not even notice people are saying great things about you, about your product, about your company, about your coworkers, about the people that you like, about the people that you would like to be like. Do you have a process to collect these, right? Because we're all so busy, and we don't really have time. But if I know, Mike's a friend of mine, and he says thank you as he's walking up the stairs, then I want to be able to collect that. But I don't have time. I need other people to be able to do that for me, but maybe I can't afford staff to do that. Maybe it's not my budget. Maybe, whatever it is. So then you have to go to these other places. You need to hire someone from the Philippines, or you have Fiverr, or you have Fancy Hands, where they're constantly collecting and curating your personal brand. They are not ghostwriting content for Chris at Weber Shantwick. They are helping you collect it, right? There's a difference between ghostwriting and other people producing stuff and another thing where they're actively doing secretarial, plumbing, administrative, these kinds of things that we're talking about. Because you might miss these home runs. You might miss these gold nuggets. And these gold nuggets, they live forever. And they continue to build upon themselves. And it's not about software technology or finding ways to hack your way into the Facebook newsfeed. It's about the collection of these pieces of authority or influence that comes from the act of saying thank you, right? So how else do you say thank you at scale? How do you find these things as they continue to develop? Or maybe, oh, I don't have all the processes and they have systems and they're a big company. No, we're not. We're a tiny little company. I've written 2,000 articles myself. Most of them have taken 5 to 10 minutes. I kid you not. Written them live on stage, right? 5 reasons why I like Kathy Keto, right? And people like that stuff. Well, you typically want to have an odd number when you're having a list of things. You want to have an odd number, like 37 ways, right? And so when you have a process on how you collect, things become easier. This is about content. Those little micro touches, those little micro endorsements are what sum up to the power of the brand or the company or organization. Because nobody really cares about the organization. They care about the sum of the individual stories and the people and those vignettes that are underneath that. Okay? That's how you're human in social media. That's why Snapchat has an angle against Facebook, because it's fundamentally based upon user stories underneath instead of the corporate advertising megahorn kind of thing. Okay? Right? I talked to Tony about this a little earlier. I'm getting extra caffeinated for Dennis Yu at SM Dallas tonight. That's fantastic. That's a positive mention. I'm going to click like on that. He's going to get a notification of that. Who's got the dollar bills? Alex, you have dollar bills? Bring them down. And let's give them out. Let's show what this looks like, right? So if you've got a process, not a factory bureaucratic kind of process. See, Tony's kept his from last year. There's a dollar bill. There's a dollar bill that has his face on it, right? Here, let me open up this other guy. I just name them and call them out and give them out, just to show what that's all about. See, the idea of influence is you want to say thank you in as many ways as you can. And just give them out. Say the names of the people and have them come up.
All right. Lori Shook. All right. Oh, let's get some Lori, but.
Yeah. Chris Dollars, Lori Dollars, Mari Smith Dollars, right? If you've got a process on how you're able to personalize, think about all the way, and you don't have, the dollar bills is kind of a gimmick, but
Stuart Mednick?
Oh no, he's not here.
He's not here.
But imagine that we used one of these. There's so many ways that they say thank you. You can do creative stuff. Gary Leland. Gary is the softball king. Okay. And you can find ways to say thank you. So many ways that you can use to delight people. Okay. No. He's the lead pages guy. So we want to incept the people that can do this kind of thing, right? And last year, you may remember, we went to Fiverr and we paid $5 for someone to do a voiceover with the Family Guy thing with Alex and I talking. And we put it on a landing page, right? And then we used the $1 a day boost strategy to amplify that to make sure that people are seeing it, right? The point of amplifying authority, having repeatable excellence, of having this snowball thank you effect, is that you have items that are in sequence. That's how you multiply this thing forward. So when we talk about sequencing, it's not enough to get the notifications and to ask for permission. May I quote you on that? Smiley face. You've got to collect it and stick it in your documents so you can reuse it in your brochures, in your website, in your whatever documents. You need to say thank you in a way that's clever and simple and lightweight, and then you need to follow on. So in the case of Jason Miller, who's now a bigwig at LinkedIn, and I thought, well, he's never going to remember who I am from years and years ago. Absolutely not the case. And so the ROI of these activities is over the span of a decade plus. It's not you do something and then you get this immediate return, and you've known that always to be the case in social, but hard to prove and hard to put a process against this. So I said thank you to Jason, and I interviewed him on Adweek, right? Here it is, Adweek. You guys read it. You guys know who Adweek is. And here it is, and I asked him some questions. Then there's the whole article, and then we take this article on Adweek, and then we're going to run an ad against it, because Adweek has distribution as it normally does, but I want to make sure that it's being seen by the people that matter. I want the people who are executives at LinkedIn. I want the people who read Adweek. I want our clients. I want the folks who are members of Social Media Dallas. I want all these other people to see it. So what I'll do is I'll post it organically, and then I'm going to boost that particular post. Or I can promote that particular URL. But let's say I boost that post, and I want to target. You should do this too. I don't have any special access. You guys know that this exists. I come down here to this targeting here, browse, demographics. Everyone always gets lost here, but I promise you it's right here. Work, employers, and then I want to target all the people who work at, name a company. LinkedIn, yeah. LinkedIn. And I've got 11,426 people at LinkedIn. But I can go further than that. I can say who also have a certain job title, who live in San Jose, because I'm not going to target all the people that work at Domino's Pizza. That's crazy. There's people delivering stuff. Now you guys know the Eisenbergs, right? So Brian and Jeffrey Eisenberg, they're the leaders in landing page optimization and conversion and this kind of thing. And Brian called me up a few weeks ago, and he said, man, I've heard about this $1 a day thing that you were talking about. And man, my mom's had this problem with Sears where they just screwed it, the whole, they were redoing the kitchen or some like giant remodeling thing. And then she got cancer, and then a few more months went by, and then all this bad stuff happened. She tried writing in, as old people typically do, and nothing happened. And she tried calling, and then he said, can you help me? And I said, for sure. What you need to do is just post it on a throwaway blog, copy this URL, amplify it, target all the people that work at Sears. But not all 193,000 people that work at Sears. I want to target the people in Chicago that work at Sears. And also are in PR or marketing, because look, I've got all these job titles. Maybe I want the vice president and above, here's vice president operations, vice president of sales, director of marketing, public relations. If I know that their PR firm is Weber Shandwick, then I'm going to target all the people that work. Hey, this works, okay? And you guys may know that I travel a lot, which is not as glamorous as you might think. In the last 3 weeks, I've done 30,000 miles. Yeah, in the last 3 weeks, this is not boasting. This is like admission. My name is Dennis and I have a problem. I've been in Sydney, London, Miami, New York, London, Manchester, Scotland, LA, San Francisco, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Dallas in the last 3 weeks. I don't even know what time it is. I have no idea. So, but let me show you. Okay, so this is a blog post I wrote on a throwaway blog that has no traffic. I use it for demonstration purposes like today only. Okay, so I thought, oh, we'll do this thing on Hotwire, and I want 2 beds, because it's just better to have 2 beds when you got 2 guys, because it's not San Francisco. It's funny. We were in the Uber last night, and the Uber driver said, "Are you guys gay? Do you want to go to like the gay district?" And she told us a word we never heard before. What was it? Gayborhood. Have you ever heard of gayborhood? What do you guys think this is? Sausages in San Francisco? No, I'm kidding. I thought that was funny. But no, I wanted 2 beds, okay? And here it said, when I was checking out, your selected bed type is guaranteed. That sounds like I'm going to get 2 beds. I don't know about you. I mean, I know with Hotwire, they kind of like hide what the hotel is, but you get it for cheaper, right? And I had Fancy Hands. They make lots of phone calls on my behalf. Thousands, I think 4,000 phone calls they've made, because I don't have time to actually complain and do this kind of stuff myself, right? You can see that there's lots of these phone calls they make. I pay, whatever, $130 a month for 50 tasks. They have different plans. And I had them call up and complain and say, what's going on? Can you figure out what's up? Because they said, nope, you don't actually get the room choice. And I know I'm a travel snob, but I said, hey, this is ridiculous. Vicky stated there's no compensation, blah, blah, blah. I didn't handle any of this, right? And so I took this write-up, including proof of how much I paid and this whole thing, and I targeted the people that work at Hotwire. And this is the $1 a day strategy. If you've got a problem, if you have any kind of thing you want to solve, if you want to get a job, if you want to say thank you to your wife or whatever, then you're going to use the dollar a day strategy. And how much money are you going to spend? A dollar a day. But the most powerful thing is to use the dollar a day to say, what? Thank you. But you can also complain too. So I'm telling you, it works. And the very next day, hotwire refund confirmation. Get your money back. 2 days after Brian posted that article on Sears, refund. Didn't even call to say whatever. They just refunded it, right? Now, don't do that unless they've actually wronged you, okay? Because I've seen some people take this and just take it too far, okay? Like you can bash good people to a bloody pulp. That only if you've actually gone through the proper channels, like, you know, it's like guns. I don't know what your opinion is of gun control, okay? But guns can kill people. This is the social media equivalent of a gun. You can shoot people. You can mow down entire audiences using this thing. For how much money? $1 a day. Yeah. Now, how else can we do this? Because we said that there is a process that ends in the $1 a day where you're amplifying, where you're interviewing people and they're interviewing you, and there's this love collective, hall of mirrors, preaching to the choir, kind of, we all love one another kind of thing, come to Jesus, kumbaya, that starts from the positive mention and continues to snowball as you start to collect these items here. You can do it for other people. You can do it for yourself. You can do it for all your key team members. You can think about how this thing starts to snowball. You drop the pebble in the pond and all the ripples go outward, right? How else might this work? Yesterday, I actually did this thing through Skype or whatever. So you guys know Digital Marketer, they teach digital marketing. Okay, so Molly and Keith and Ralph and I did a podcast. This was episode 49, Boosted Posts, which is the $1 a day strategy. And we talk all about it, and then they email their entire list. So now their list becomes our list. And they've told everyone here, oh, this is amazing, and Dennis is so good, and this kind of stuff. And then I get a note from Molly, who basically runs that company. I know Ryan's the face, but Molly and Russ run the thing. So she sends me a message saying, a couple hours ago, she sends this to me. Hey, this thing just went live. And I said, hey, when to go live? She said, next few minutes. And all of a sudden, I saw it pop up in my inbox. Here it is, right? And then I replied to her saying, hey, you know, we should get together in Austin on Monday or so. And then she says yes, and we're going to continue to create content. I'll interview her. She's going to interview us. Now our audience is her audience and vice versa. Now you have consistency, because anyone who's studying how to do Facebook ads is going to be exposed to the same principles. And it looks like the human mind always, the whole kind of fight or flight thing, they want to do what appears safe. So when they see a lot of other people saying the same thing, when they see Facebook saying the same thing, when they see it coming on Adweek, when they see that the Golden State Warriors, or whatever it is, and you're another sports team, and you see that there's a whole process behind it that's being shared publicly, and BlitzMetrics is the one that's doing it, you have created inception. Because maximum authority is 3 things that have to occur at the same time. High authority content, high authority people, on a high authority publication. All 3 of those. You get that trifecta, you win. It's just not even fair. It's like cheating. And then you put the $1 a day against it. Okay? So what happens here is that we want to service all the other sports teams. Because we have, and this started from Adidas and Nike and Red Bull, and then all of a sudden it moved into these kinds of teams. So we published how we do stuff for the Warriors. And here it is. Here's our process on Facebook ads, which is one of many processes. Think about how you might do that for yourself. Maybe you're doing this for attorneys and you're Teresa, right? You're doing this because you can do the same thing. It really doesn't matter. It's the same process, the same 6 phases, the same, saying thank you, collecting content, all of these things. And so we published this on how the Warriors do Facebook ads. Well, guess what? Plumbing, goals, content, targeting, amplification, optimization. And here they are, right? Here's how we got the plumbing in place. Tag management, Facebook ads, Google conversion tracking, right? We have our goals, 20x ROI. Every dollar's got to generate $20 in ticket sales and merchandise. That's how we decide how much money to spend. We have an unlimited budget. And we have content. Videos, interviews, the team's traveling, here's what they're wearing, they're donating a playground at a school. There's all kinds of content, right? There's content with the sponsors, Oracle, Jamba Juice, Kaiser, Uber, Virgin America, right? And this is how we build the ads. This is how we do the analytics. These are our naming conventions. We're publicly sharing how we do it. You should be publicly sharing how you're doing it, because this process creates maximum credibility because you publish it in high authority places. That causes other people to reach out to you. That's called inbound marketing. They say your stuff's amazing. And when they say that's amazing, that's also called them saying, and when they say thank you, you're going to spend how much? Publishing it, amplifying it, which generates more. That's how you get power. That is social inception. That is the heart of this entire process. That's how you care. This has nothing to do with Facebook marketing or social media or digital or email or programming and APIs. It has nothing to do with any of those things. And it has everything to do with the seed of actually caring about something, because you're going to harvest power over the long run. This kind of ROI takes a long time, because the guy who is in charge of global sports marketing at Facebook, this guy here, Kevin Cote, for 10 years, he ran digital at the Golden State Warriors. And so he just so happened to become the guy at Facebook in charge of all the sports teams globally, all the pro sports teams. Soccer is really huge. They call it football, way bigger than anything in the United States by an order of magnitude, right? Way bigger than softball, too. It's huge, right? All the college teams. Now, we might have had a little something to do with that, but we have someone on the inside now. We have someone on the inside at LinkedIn. We have someone on the inside of all these other companies. I used to run analytics at Yahoo 15 years ago. A lot of the people on my team went to build analytics over at Google because they didn't have analytics. They had a search engine with anonymous browser level data. They didn't have, until there was Gmail and other sorts of things that required a login, they didn't have a logged in user until 10 years ago, right? But those seeds that were planted 15, 20 years ago are now coming back and bearing fruit today. The things that I learned 20 years ago from Al Casey come back and bear fruit today. That's powerful. You can't con people over that amount of time. You have to actually care about what you're doing, right? And this pays dividends. So he's been trained up in our way of doing things. Now, what do you think happens when the Dallas Cowboys and Manchester United and these other guys come to him for help? What do you think he tells them? Gives them the same processes, the stuff that he's been trained on, the stuff that he knows works, right? And that's how you create this loyalty, the retention, this kind of thing. But you got to take it a step further, because every time you have a win, you have to have a system in place to be able to amplify it and continue the power. And no person, no matter how smart you are, no matter how lucky you are, no matter how hard you work, can beat a lot of people who are iterating according to a process. Massive iteration always beats individual intelligence. The process wins. The hive wins. It doesn't matter how smart you think you are. Some people think I'm smart. I'm wrong most of the time. I have no idea. I believe in testing. I Google stuff. I even use that website. Let me Google that for you when people ask questions. And I paste them back the results in Skype. I kid you not. That's what I actually do. I paste it back. Hey Dennis, here's some question I have. Okay. And then I just Google it for them, and I paste them the first result. Now, how do you get this at scale? Because you can do that as an individual to collect the thank yous, to be able to amplify that and interview them and tweet them, and build these relationships over time. It's like spinning plates. But how do you do it at the company level? How do you do it across a lot of people that need to coordinate? What happens if you don't have a lot of resources? What happens if these processes seem foreign to you? Well, here's one from Leonard Kim, and he's written a lot of these heartfelt articles about what is an influencer and how most of these people, especially the self-help people, actually have the worst self-esteem. It's like the pastor's kids or the kids of psychologists are the ones that commit the most suicide. I mean, I kid you not, it is so true. So the self-help people, the ones who talk about success and how you can make money quick, are the ones actually who have the least money. I know this because most of the big ones come to us for help. And I say, well, you know, you've got this whole, I won't name some of these people, but I'm for sure you know the people that I'm talking about, okay? And they'll come and I'll say, okay, well, I hear all your stuff about how you can make millions of dollars, so yeah, happy to help you. It's going to be $1 million, that's the fee. Oh, wait, you don't have any money? Oh, okay then. Now, you want to be able to say thank you at scale. Because that's, remember, we said the sum of the individual personal stories, the sum of the personal brands, rolls up into your corporate identity content marketing. Content marketing is not something that's nebulously done. So this article is on Inc. magazine, and it gets distribution, and of course we amplify that for how much money? $1. $1 a day. And now what happens is when you think like a journalist, you are actually the most unbelievably credible salesperson out there. My title is CTO. That gives me way more credibility than if I told you I was the chief sales officer or something like that. I mean, the Asian thing, I can totally play the CTO. So now look at this. This is hilarious. My friend Sam Abbott runs Savage Race. This is a mud obstacle race. And we've spent a couple $1 million on Facebook ads, and it's driven people to register for these, you know, for the whole, like, on the weekend they do all these, like, whatever, tough person kinds of things, right? We talk all about this. And then here's another one, right? Land a dream job. And this is our buddy Tyler Doyle, who spent 89 cents, not $1, he's 11 cents short. He spent $11, he said, or sorry, 89 cents. How I spent 89 cents and landed my dream job, which is the $1 a day principle, but you know, he didn't let it run to a whole dollar, and he targeted the company that he wanted to work at, attention, social stewards, blah, blah, blah. They reached out, how could you not? Because he complimented them. Here's 5 things that I think you guys could do to blah, blah, blah. Of course they want to find out, they're curious, right? Inquiring minds want to know. And so we amplify him. We say thank you to him, and now he's at the LDS Business College in charge of digital, and he's spending money amplifying their content. How much money is he spending? $1 a day, and it absolutely works. And he came through our training program 2 or 3 years ago, right? And this is working for him. Now this one is really going to be bad, but I'll tell you anyway, okay? Here's tip number 5. I buried it at the end. Generate leads without a sales team and cold calls, right? How do you use social media, content marketing, and all this, which we'll talk about in the workshop tomorrow. We'll do it together in the workshop tomorrow. Right now I'm just kind of telling you, we'll do it together tomorrow. And there's this whole thing going on, and it said Dennis Yu of BlitzMetrics did all this kind of stuff, and here's some great examples, and you know, blah, blah, blah. But you know what actually happened? I'm in my Gmail, okay? I can't even spell his name. Here it is. He was writing an article. He's under deadline pressure. This guy writes for Inc. magazine. And he wrote the initial 4, which I threw away 2 of, and I added 1 more, which was mine. And so there's this here. This is 7 days ago. So he came to me saying, hey, I need help. I don't have the 4 or 5 examples. I only had 1 or 2, and they're kind of crap. But I'm under deadline to write for Inc. magazine and this kind of thing. If you're not an influencer, if you're not a journalist or write, you don't realize this is what actually happens. These guys are just trying to get their articles out. Okay, they're very easy to manipulate. Because it's not like the press, they're hard to get a hold of. They're under deadline pressure. There's a bullet, there's a gun to their head every week. They got to get their article out, their column out, right? And so when you give them real information that's helpful, they love it. So here's what he started with, and then I came in and I just added all this other stuff. So what I did was I said, I'm going to think like a journalist. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and write this whole thing, and you can stick it in there, and lo and behold, here it is. Right? So what actually happened is I wrote about myself, but it was under his words. So I put words in his mouth, and now it's Inc. magazine. And what's funny is that other people who know Tyler or know these other people came to me, and they said, wow, did you see that one of your students, Tyler, was featured in Inc. magazine, and they wrote so well about him? And I said, really? Wow, that's unbelievable. And then, now, Tyler's in charge of the social for LDS Business College, which is here. And, of course, he shared this as LDS Business College, somewhere in here saying, oh, one of our students just got featured in, here it is, Inc. magazine posted an article featuring one of our students who's making waves using what he's learned here at LDSBC. Way to go, Tyler, you're doing great things. This is him posting as LDS Business College to attract more students into the business program to get a social media marketing certificate. Is this confusing? Do you get it? You see how this works?
Yeah.
And it's all based on 2 magic words, and that's when people say, and then they spend how much money? $1. $1 a day, that's right. Do you see how this works? Do you see the pattern here? Is anyone doing this?
Yeah.
You are? No one wants to admit they're doing this, right? It's fantastic. All right, let's take a look at the Golden State Warriors, who are going to win their second. Who's the Cavs guy? Where's our Cavs? There we are in the back. Okay, I'm going to Business Manager to manage his page. We've got dual business managers. You should run everything inside Business Manager.
Can you post as them?
Can I post as them? Will I post as them is the question. Okay, wait, you see this thing here? You see where the cursor is?
You can.
I could post as them. Now, when it's got my profile picture in there, that's me. But right now, I'm them. So you got to be careful. You know what's funny? I'll tell you a story. That we were doing stuff for Domino's and for Lane Bryant, and I remember, I want to say this was like 2009. You know Domino's Pizza, right? Have you guys heard this before?
No.
No, I don't think you have, because it would be embarrassing to admit. I remember posting on Domino's, I said, remember everyone wanted to get a lot of fans, so they were all saying click like. So I said on Domino's, click like if you're our biggest fan. And I had something like 50,000 people. Oh, Mike, do you remember that?
I was there.
Oh, it was embarrassing.
I
wasn't
believe it was Hawaii.
Was it? Yeah, that's right. I got in so much trouble. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so so that got 50,000 likes. And I was just so impressed. I felt like so good. I'm like, yeah, it's amazing. So then I went over to the Lane Bryant page and I posted, click like if you're our biggest fan. And you know, I got 50,000 likes on that one too. And then the CMO called me later that night and said, oh man, and I said, yeah, your engagement rate's way up. And that was when you had to be, do you remember when you had to become a fan to comment? Like now, like anybody can just kind of, our fan growth went through the roof. And that was also when they were trying to run a Super Bowl ad that got declined by the NFL and all that because it was featuring Ashley, who was this plus-size model, who actually is really attractive. But they said that it was inappropriate or whatever, and then that angered all the women who said that you shouldn't be fat-shamed and, you know, the whole Victoria's Secret thing. So the timing of all that was actually perfect. And Jay Dunn, who was the CMO at that time, said that all the stuff we did then in hindsight was actually incredible marketing, even though it started with a mistake. And that's why we have a policy in our company that we never post directly on the pages. Never. We don't, for my own guilty reasons. Okay, so this post happened 31 minutes ago. Will this be the night? Dubs take the floor in Cleveland tonight for a chance to clinch their second straight NBA championship. 159,000 reach, 32,000 views, about 1/5. It's not high enough. I need 30% to be able to boost. One away, 51 minutes ago, 254,000, a little bit better, 22,000 likes. That's about 10%. That's close.
Is that paid?
No, there's no paid.
This
See,
is all organic?
there's no paid. This is organic. I'm going to show you the boost in a moment. Okay, here's another one. 2 hours, 500,000 reach. I know it's small, I'll make it bigger. How are we doing on time? Okay. Okay, I don't want to hold you up from the beer. Okay, game 6 ready. Here's some shoes, 800,000. Of course, it's a little further in time. The decay factor on Facebook is a little slower than on Twitter, which is about 15 minutes. So you've got a pretty good half-life here. I'm going to find one that's good, especially video, to boost. Here's another one. Oh no, this is the same one because I made it bigger. 3 hours, countdown. That didn't get enough engagement. One more win. Steph Curry holding up the 1. 3 is better than 2. 1.5 million reach. And I got 111,000 likes. I'm going to boost this, but only for a couple hours. Now, I want to do media inception, because inception is influencing the influencer to the influencer. So it's actually B to B to B to B. Okay? That's how you, like chess, you got to think 8 steps ahead. Okay? Don't be some buy my stuff kind of marketer. Those are shallow marketers that can't think multiple steps ahead. Now, we've got these pre-saved audiences, which you should have as well. And some of them I'll show you. Remember the authority collection? As you're collecting these authority pieces, you're collecting audiences, you're collecting content, you're collecting articles. There's some of these that we've saved. We're collecting these here that we're boosting, like this one, for example. Mega media and sponsor workplaces. This is going to be hard to see, but it's people who match ESPN and Sports Illustrated and Time and CNN and the MIT Sports Media Lab. You can have 1,000 items in here. These are people who work at these places, just like they work at Sears, or they work at Hotwire, or they work at any of these other places. I want to accept these audiences. I'm not trying to accept the people that read Sports Illustrated. I'm trying to accept the people that work at these places. Usually, you're using the dollar a day strategy to say thank you to elevate someone else because you are thinking like a journalist, because you have something positive to say about someone else, and people's egos are so irresistibly cantered towards themselves that that's why this strategy works. This is how human nature behaves. You guys know this is to be the case. Okay? So then we take this. I don't need much of a budget. I know I said $1 a day, but this is the Golden State Warriors, so I'm boosting that for $100, right? But I'm going to go back in there and have it stop at an hour before game time. The game is at 6 Pacific, so it's just about going to start. Yeah, it's going to start in a few minutes. So just as the game's about to start, we'll probably end this and go to beer and watch this whole thing. Yeah. Okay, so that, actually, Scott, go in there and just change the timing on it so it stops in whatever, at halftime, basically. Okay. Now let me go back a little further, just to show you the power of video and show you these other things here. This one's not as powerful. Let me show you one that's more powerful. Let's see. Now there's so many posts. I think our post frequency is up at 30 or 40, but that's okay. Your post frequency actually can be unlimited. This is a big lie that people have. As long as the content is good, that's the asterisk. You can post as often as you want. Video's great. 20, 30-second videos. People like that. Lots and lots of lightweight touches. Because people like to win. They like to say thank you. They like to live vicariously. It's like the soccer moms that are trying to get their kids to win because they didn't win when they were younger. Right? 1 year ago today, the Warriors defeated the Cavs in Game 6 to capture the championship. And you've got 3 million views. Now imagine we've got a series of sponsors that pay to have their money on the pay money to have their name on the stadium and the t-shirts and all this kind of stuff. We can accept the sponsors with this, which will show them, because of the social proof, all their friends and other folks that are engaging, right? So we would always have a sponsor boost that's layered on for just, how much money are we spending? $1 a day to make sure that those sponsor audiences, people that work in the headquarters cities of those sponsors are seeing it. So if I'm Cafe Express, or if I'm any of these folks with Social Media Dallas, and I'm Reach Local, I'm going to target all those folks to make sure they're seeing the content. You see how that inception model works? You're not driving direct sales. You're trying to influence the influencer. And that takes another level. Your content's got to be good enough to pass that threshold. Okay? So I've got this video. It's a great video. 27% completion rate. What percent of it do you think is audio off?
90. 99.
96. What percent of it do you think is autoplay?
75.
Oops, where is this? Sound on? Do I need to make it small? This is this other one. So 90% sound off. Yeah. And then where's the autoplay? I thought the autoplay was, no, the autoplay is the last one. Yeah. There it is. Yeah, 96 autoplay. Now you can, if you click this box, you'll see that the people that actually click to watch will stay 2 or 3 times longer. Okay. Now this video is 1:06, so 27% is actually very good. If you can get 50% to 30 seconds, you're doing really well. So on autoplay, we're keeping 73% to 30 seconds on click to play. That's pretty good. That means it's engaging. But if it's an interview with the players and they're talking about what's going on, you need to hear the sound, you're going to see a completely different profile in the analytics. Facebook absolutely takes into account these video stats to see how long people watch, to see if there's negative feedback, to see all these other things, to determine whether it gets further exposure in the newsfeed. So think about that. Video is so key. If you want to engage in social, I don't care if you're an attorney, or you're a food company, or you're a small biz, you're a consultant, or you're selling services. If you don't have video, that's why your reach is declining in the newsfeed. It's not because Facebook is somehow squeezing you and forcing you to advertise and this kind of thing, okay? So let me start closing down some of these other items. The way you want to incept people, the way you scale without having a lot of resources is you've got to have process. Process is how you take something that would have taken you 10 hours down to 10 minutes. No exaggeration. Because you have people that will do things for you for $5, right? They, like I was showing you with these presentations, all this work here is done by young adults. The only work I'm doing, which barely even counts as work, is talking to you guys right now. This work was done by a 19-year-old. All these slides here, right? And I could narrate through this and tell you why social media has changed and how there's a process, how the newsfeed algorithm works and how it impacts SEO and how content and social and SEO and PR and all those things are really the same thing, and how you say thank you and other people promote you. But what really matters is that you understand the core of it is to say thank you. Because when you have that there, that's the power that goes through all the other channels. It has nothing to do with being a channel marketer. It is not that you do SEO, or you do paid media, or you do PR, or you build websites and do WordPress. It's that you give a shit, and this stuff flows through these different channels. Facebook is now, with the exception of most brands, is your website. Everything your website can do, Facebook can do. And the SEOs get mad when I say things like this, which is actually great link bait, because then you get quotes from these other people. Because you want to incept the inceptor, and then you take your article that pisses them off and you target all the SEO community people, right? All the people that work at search engine. Hey, Danny Sullivan doesn't like me, right? Because they say, well, I need to own the website and have control because, well, you know, Facebook can take this stuff away from me, and you know, all the reasons why it's like I need to have my own thing. Well, that's actually not true, because you're still governed by a feed with Google. There's still an algorithm governing you. And what happened in the last 6 months is that Facebook's realized that everything's moved to mobile. 80% of the traffic's on mobile. You guys know that. So Facebook came out with the standard of accelerated mobile pages, right? AMP. Everyone's got to be on AMP. If you don't embrace AMP, which is pre-caching things, you will get penalized in search results. And the SEOs and Matt Cutts and those guys will say that's not true. It absolutely is true, because user experience and site load times are a huge factor in ranking results. Now, what's the equivalent of Google AMP? Instant articles. That's right. Instant articles is also feed-driven. You've got a canonical URL that goes back to the website, and you can create posts that automatically create canonical URLs back to the site. So either way, Facebook's still your website. Either way, it's not like your website matters or doesn't matter. What matters is that you need to have distribution. And if your distribution is based on the business objective that you have, then who cares if it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, email marketing, Google, newsletters, whatever it is. Because what matters is that you've got a business objective and you've got content tied to that objective, and you want to make sure that you have content and targeting combinations in sequence that are driven by things that people have done, so you can actually sketch out the entire relationship that you have with the customer. So it's not a seasonal kind of thing like, here's our summer sale and fall campaign or whatever. It's if they just clicked on something, if they're in our email program, then this. If they're a fan of our page, but they've not been to our website, then this. And all of these different triggers. If you've got these triggers at different points in the funnel, and you have content that is sourced from your customers because you've got word of mouth that's collected by saying thank you, that you amplify for $1 a day to bring people down through this funnel, then your diagnostic metrics of CTR and number of fans and likes and CPC and quality score and relevance score, all those kinds of semi-technical things are really just secondary indicators, you know, check engine, idiot like, go see the dealer kind of things that tell you how you're doing against your business results. And then you can map out the health of your business if you have a funnel, if you have goals, content, and targeting, if you have audience engagement and conversion, to be able to say, this is where my business is. And thus, social is really just an amplifier of what's already working, because I'm saying thank you because it has that core seed of concern. And this is a funnel that covers my entire business. That is not just a social media thing. Because I can track them at every one of these areas. The only stuff is offline media is a little tougher, but I can track how traffic is flowing between these different channels. Imagine that if I know that someone comes to my website because I drove them there from a remarketing audience, or maybe they clicked on a Google ad, I don't know, they opened an email and they're at my website, and now the remarketing for Twitter and Facebook and Google starts to hit, and then I've got other triggers where if they didn't open my email and they bought something in the last week and this but not that, then I'm going to show them this kind of content. Then I've got if-then logic that sequences them through the funnel so that each of these arrows is triggered not by them being a static demographic target, some kind of persona, some fake thing the ad agency made up that sounded good, but something that someone actually did or didn't do after a certain amount of time. They're in one bucket and then they move to another bucket because they just moved, because they've just visited my webpage, because they've just read an instant article, because they've done one thing but not the other, because they've abandoned my product page and I've got my product listing ads that are running, right? Because they have done something or not done something, I can follow them through across into these other channels based on data that I have in any of these audiences. I can tie all my data together, all my web, social, email, even app data. That's the fourth kind of data. Because that's part of where Facebook's going. Facebook's not a social network. It's the board that has an archipelago of apps that sit on top. And as we said last time, of the top 10 apps in the App Store, 4 of them are owned by Facebook. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger. Apple doesn't know what to do. Google doesn't know what to do. Lots and lots of stories about why this is very important, how you test Facebook. It's like, oh, is it great taste, less filling, Facebook versus YouTube. They're both good. Why would you say one's better than the other? It doesn't matter. You're using both. You're amplifying. You're testing Canvas versus non-Canvas, which is the paid version of instant articles. Right? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? If you're doing lead gen, B2B lead gen, oh, we're serious like IT stuff, it won't work in social media. You know what? Your retargeting is going to work, so it doesn't matter. It's nothing to do with social media. I'm going to test boosting, I'm going to test lead gen, and you're going to find that this stuff works and it drives sales. And it drives, the funny thing like for the Warriors is that when we drive all this social media stuff, it drives search results into Google. More people are searching on Warriors tickets. You know the best indicator of whether you've got social ROI is whether that spills over into more people searching on your brand terms. And you know, the SEO and PPC people, they don't like that, us mentioning these sorts of things, because they mix in brand and non-brand to make their ROI look better. But the question is, what caused them to search for your client's name or for your company's name? It had to have come from somewhere else. And that somewhere else was word of mouth. And that word of mouth was probably in social media somewhere. So the best indicator of social ROI is how much change you have in your brand lift, how much change you have in your organic reach, all else equal. I'll show you an example. So for fun, I was boosting some of my tweets. Oh, so we're talking about spending $1 a day on Facebook. You can do $1 a day on Twitter, and you could do $10 a day on LinkedIn. I don't recommend doing LinkedIn unless you're IT or HR, because it's not very efficient, and they're just way behind, okay? There's a lot of things they're not doing yet. I love LinkedIn, and I even tell Jason Miller the same thing. We've told the ads team what they need to do. But you can see here in the blue, this is organic, and in the orange is when we're promoting these tweets. And when I turned this thing off 10 days ago, all of a sudden organic just died. So the real reach that you're getting is what you appear to be paying for, plus the additional organic impact, which is both positive and negative, depending on how you look at it. We found that for the Warriors, that when we boost a hot post, which is throwing fuel on the fire, every one paid impression generates 320 additional organic impressions. Can you imagine going to Kroger or Albertsons or whatever, and there's your favorite soft drink, and it's buy one, get 320 free? That's what you're getting. That's really where the power is. If you can scale this, if you have this kind of process, if you've got clever ways to say thank you, if you've got all your assets tied together in Business Manager, if you've got Google Tag Manager that ties together all these different audiences, if you run natively and get this kind of stuff, if you have minions that are doing this work for you, because there's a bunch of unemployed kids last I checked that will work for you for almost nothing. And just different ways of saying thank you. Like here's Jeff Rushton, who ran digital for the University of Louisville. And he said, and I did this on Amazon Prime. My daughter and her friends think that Dennis is magic because this showed up 10 minutes after we returned from the Legos movie. You know, thanks, we'll have to catch up soon. Right, the unexpected surprise of saying thank you. And what happened was that when we were meeting with him about their sports program and how they could do the same thing as for these other sports teams and make money, because you know, college sports has now become kind of a serious thing. He talked about building blocks and how building that, you know, some people you have to adapt to their mental models. And I remember writing down the notes, he kept saying building blocks. So then in the Uber to the airport, went to Amazon, and I looked up, I like to buy candy. I think candy seems to work. You can do Legos too, but let's see, candy, blocks. I've got Amazon Prime, of course, and here's all these Prime. Holy moly, 3 pounds. 3 pounds for $14.87, shipped and with your gift message, right? And you could see in my address book, I've got hundreds of entries in this address book, like tons and tons. So what I'll do is I'll Amazon Prime, buy now, or check the box, this is a gift, buy now. I'll include my gift message, and I'll say, you know, hey Jeff, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to building programs together with you, or I don't know, just something corny. Or the other thing that we'll do is we'll buy mints, right? Because there's these Andes mints. I really like you know, they give you the mints at the end, like at steakhouses. And I like to find things that are under $10, but are still prime. So let's see, Lifesavers mints. Here, okay, I don't know why you buy 2 50-ounce bags of Lifesavers, but you could. And sometimes it's fun. So if they're a professor or if they're a marketing VP or something, then and you have this, then they basically give it to their staff, which then incepts all of them at the same time. So then you'll take this, something, or little toys, and you'll say, Chris, thank you so much for having us out here. We meant to thank you, or meant to tell you how awesome you are. Right? Now imagine how Chris is going to feel when this shows up at the office. You know, he's got the corner office at Weber Shandwick or whatever, and there's this box, because everyone's got that young kid Christmas morning surprise kind of thing when they open up the gift, right? And imagine how he feels. Yeah, I'm a real old-fashioned kind of guy. I believe in calling people and having lunch and sending them things and this internet marketing thing, like, I don't know, I don't understand Snapchat or any of these things, right? This is where it's at, people. It's like the old stuff is somehow not cool anymore. I think it's amazing. We prepared a guide for you at our expense because we want to see you all not just be entertained by these kinds of vignettes and stories like, ha, that was kind of interesting. We want to see you apply this. We want to see you grow professionally. We want to see you grow your business. And this guide that we printed for you talks about these 6 phases that we call the social amplification engine. Plumbing is the tag manager, conversion tracking, and all this kind of stuff. Goals, content, and targeting is what we call strategy. And scaling is your amplification and optimization. So you go from setup to strategy to scale. If you follow these processes, even if you don't have the resources, you don't have time, all the excuses that people use for not exercising or not following through on their New Year's resolutions, this is what we're talking about. You can break each of these 6 phases into basic steps and advanced steps. You don't have to do everything. The key is that you want to follow one thread all the way across. One piece of content that you amplify. Even if you don't have your tracking. Even if you don't have all your content. Even if you don't, your website's still being redone. Even if all these excuses on why people don't want to exercise or do the things they're supposed to do. You know what I'm talking about. People approach the marketing the same way. I want you to just pick a couple things that you can amplify. They don't have to be high authority things on Facebook's site or the New York Times, or it could be anything. It could be your blog. It could be something someone wrote about you. Maybe you don't have someone to collect your authority for you, but this influence or authority. I'm using them interchangeably. Fine. You could hire someone on Fancy Hands. You could have one of our guys do it for you. You could hire some kid out of UNT that's otherwise delivering pizza and pay them $10 an hour to do this. There's so many ways to handle this, even if you don't have any money, right? You could be Gary Leland and you're the softball guy and you got all these people to follow you. Certainly one person in the audience would love to be a part of your program and be mentored by you. Get them to work for free, even though I think that's illegal now. So you have volunteers, nonprofits. Yeah. And then they will go through these particular processes. Every one of these processes, we've got 18, has got a 50-page guide behind it. Do you have time to do that? Probably not. So you get someone else to do these particular steps in collecting your authority, in building your personal brand, in setting up your plumbing, not creating your content, but curating the content, right? Doing community management, the kind of stuff that you don't want to do. We're all capable of assembling IKEA furniture, but wouldn't you rather pay someone else $10 an hour to do that, right?
Yes.
So what things do you do in your everyday life, if you're Mark the Spa Man, that someone else should be doing? Anything that you have said more than 3 times, because there's certain things that you say to people all the time, you could record that and you've automated it. Joel knows this because his whole business is automation, right? How do you build up brands with other people helping you without them trying to be your brand, but they can assist in your brand? Because your ability to scale is determined by your ability to write down specific processes on how you operate. Every business, the power of a brand is the sum of the personal brands and experiences of the underlying users, which is continued to be grown and nurtured by the underlying process. The DNA of any brand is the underlying process that they document that allows itself to repeat and create consistent experiences. I love McDonald's French fries because they're hot and crispy. In any country I go into, I like to order the French fries, and it's the same because there are people that are following a particular process. And people think bad about this processes being bureaucratic and mindless and robotic and this kind of thing. If you have a Tesla, you know, that's a product of a factory. There's a process behind it. There's certainly thinking. A process is nothing more than having some kind of business logic, some way of operating. And what's bad, what's bureaucratic, like the DMV or whatever, is bad logic, but process itself is inert. Process is neither positive nor negative. So we have put together a process for you that we would like you to follow, that if you come tomorrow, 3 of my colleagues have flown in. We're not getting paid for this. We're doing this because this is what we actually believe in. And you know, Kathy and the other folks will tell you this is the case. We want to see everyone embrace this and grow because this is going to create jobs. This is going to set the example. I think in 10 years from now, when the robots are taking over all of the $15 an hour jobs and this kind of thing and digital marketing stuff, the agencies are getting disintermediated. But we think that this is a way to solve that long-term problem of kids coming out of school with lots of loans and a diploma and no job. They've got to get this kind of work experience, and you guys are perfect guinea pigs for that, right? And teach them how to say thank you. You know, Mama always said, please and thank you. You know, how to do all this kind of stuff. This is how you go about doing this at scale. There's no risk because they're not creating your content for you. They're following your processes. They're curating your brand. And it all starts with finding out where your brand is, where your power is, where your connections are. And that goes back to finding out where people are saying thank you. And where people are saying thank you about you, about your products, about your relationships, about your clients, is where you know you can start with, where you've got a gold mine. And then you spend how much money? No. You spend $1 a day to amplify that. Okay? So the first step on this is plumbing. Without the plumbing, without this kind of tracking and all your data put together in one place, you're not going to be able to sequentially move to all the other steps. Because you can't measure your goals unless you've got the plumbing. But if you don't have goals, which is your mission and your meaning, right, all the metrics, and then your why, which is like left brain, right brain, you're not going to be able to have your content, which flows from that. And if you've got the content, which comes from you and what you stand for and your identity, you can't have the targeting, which are the audiences that you want to infuse because you want to share it forward. You want to share all the stuff that you learn. You want to get these other people to say thank you so that you can amplify that. And when you amplify that and you tune it, you can then optimize that, right? So, do we have time for Q&A? All right, let's take some questions. Sir in the back. Yeah, white shirt.
Great presentation. You're very Facebook focused. You're clearly using Twitter. What are your thoughts about where Twitter's going? They're trying to turn it around. What do you like? What are your thoughts on that? I'm just curious.
What are my thoughts on Twitter? Twitter is just the Bing of social.
Can we tweet that?
I'll soon call them the LinkedIn of social. So if you're doing search, you're going to get Google right first. And then you're going to move to the other engines. And there are some really unique things that you can do with Twitter. Start with the basics first. All the targeting, all the tools, the API, the size of the audiences, all those are better. So we like to test with Facebook first, and then we copy over and do all the other networks. But all the channels fit together. There's no such thing as a Twitter strategy or LinkedIn strategy or whatever. There's only business strategy and then channel tactics. Strategy never changes.
Thank you.
The 6 phases will never change. I've been preaching this for 20 years. It's never going to change. Tony.
Dennis, you go into more detail about your interns and your people, how you work with them off the scale.
So Tony wants to know, you're not supposed to see how the sausage is being made, right? Okay, so you may know that all the work done in our company, even though we've got a lot of these big brands and this whole kind of thing, is done by these young adults that we used to call interns, but that didn't exactly work. So we gave them another name. And we have this thing that we call this leveling system. That's gamification, because the millennials need to have praise all the time, and we're going to go a little further. Open this one. Okay, open this. Okay. Got to show the dollar, dollar bills, y'all. So there's a 9-level system, and you got to find your passion. Scott's in charge of our training. He's smiling because his face is on here, so he looks just like that. He's got the black glasses, 6'5", and you have to identify it with the story, right? Because in order to give and to be authentic, they have to find something they like, and it can't be video games and that kind of thing, right? Watching Netflix videos. If they put together what their goals are, we can match them with the things that have a commercial interest so they can get paid for that. And that's why we've got so many sports clients and soft drink companies, Jack Daniels, and you can find the obvious connection with music and bands and sponsors and that kind of thing, right? Because anyone who knows about, we just are about to, we have like these soccer teams or whatever in Europe, this kind of thing. And anyone who really, really cares about Manchester City is going to outperform any of us or me, because I really don't know anything about the teams. I don't know the names of the players. They're going to beat me because they know who's being traded, who's injured, what the schedule is, right? Because it has to start with that kind of knowledge. The fan is actually the best marketer. They do a better job. They're going to be paid less. They love doing it. It's like a dream thing. Never work a day in your life. This kind of thing. But you've got to be able, the market mechanism to connect that's broken. So if people can fill this out, and we figure out this 9-grid, short, medium, long, and personal, physical, and professional, we can always be mapping to what they want to do and finding opportunities to match. So they're kind of like a quasi-freelancer / entrepreneur / agency kind of owner, and they move through the levels. They have their schedule. They track their time. Here's our path that we map out inside Infusionsoft, and they choose one of 4 different specialties. Engineering is a little bit off limits because that's hard to find, but advertising, analytics, and content, that's goals, content, targeting, that's the triad, that's strategy. And there's a path for each of these. And they go through this for free because they work in conjunction with the schools, so the Career Center, the Business College, all these guys, they like this. And they earn badges. Every one of these badges, they earn $1 more for every skill, so they have a base. See all these badges? And there's all the training that's created by us and other folks. If you've got training, we would love to put it in here. We'd love to make this available for Social Media Dallas. We'll give you guys the learning management system we built. Put a lot of money into this. And they start out at $10 an hour, but they can advance as fast as they can move. Some people get stuck at level 1 for 6 months and then they're fired. Some people move up to level 5 in a matter of a couple weeks. But they make their base pay on each of these different levels, and they earn the extra $1 for each skill that they have. And we think that this is a great extension of the apprenticeship journeyman kind of system that existed in Europe for a very long time, but just hasn't made its way to the United States. I think the community college, career education, trade kind of thing is moving in this direction. But this is where we think it's got to go, because education has to be in conjunction with the workplace.
Go back to that one slide with the scale. You want more? Do you actually show that to people?
Yeah.
You say like I mean, this is almost like Warcraft or iOS game.
Exactly, it's intentional.
Because I can't hide this from people, right? We say, okay, you work hard enough for 2 years, maybe you can get a promotion.
Because that's a tenure union kind of mentality. Look, the millennials, they need constant reward. They need, a badge for every time they show up. They need all this kind of stuff. You've got to find ways of constant positive reinforcement. Really, you've got to make it fun. You've got to have lots of applause. You've got to have things that they can earn and learn, and they can watch videos, and the education system has to adapt to the way that people learn. So we have most of this as video, and then you can consume it in mobile, and you can take a quiz. In fact, Scott designed a quiz. If you guys want to even try it, he put it together, and it's a test of your Facebook marketing knowledge. It's at blitzmetrics.com/FBQ for Facebook. Is that right? Facebook quiz, right? Go in there and take the quiz. Take it on your phone, whatever it is. You'll get a score at the end. You might be embarrassed. But right? But maybe instead of taking the quiz, you want to go through the training first. Maybe, just, you'll do better, right? Then you can earn the badge, right? This is just basic gamification. And so there's a whole system on how you do it and how they can become a leader and eventually own a business. But no one's going to go from naked out of school straight into becoming a business owner, because there's so many levels to be able to be a team lead and manage other people and hire, fire, and manage a P&L. And there's all these other skills that you have to learn to be an entrepreneur. It's like going from being an employee where you're told what to do and you're paid by the hour to being a consultant where you're sort of an employee, to owning a small business with a few people, all the way to actually having a product and thing that you sell and this kind of thing, right? There is a progression they need to go through. And this progression directly supports the 6 phases that you go through as a business in building your brand and building your company. So here are those 6 phases. Remember we said there's 6 phases for you as a business. There's a supporting 6 phases for these students. Because plumbing, the equivalent of plumbing for the students is 9 triangles, which is values and what you stand for and setting goals. The goals of metrics and meaning for the company is about personal branding, what that student stands for. And they, as the most ideal fan, they're going to be collecting authority. They're going to be assembling these spreadsheets. They're going to be using these various tools. We have our own monitoring tool. We're a software company. We do all this kind of stuff that then trickles up into content that gets amplified against certain targets, right? So this is the kind of grunt work. These are the green layer are the people in the kitchen that are chopping vegetables and washing pots and cutting meat and this kind of thing. And the front is more of today this is the soup of the day. Let me tell you about the surf and turf special, right? And that way you have a front office, back office, and that's the way businesses should be run. Sorry, that was a long answer. Let's take some quick questions.
Okay, so
We don't make any money on this, by the way. Every dollar we make on this site, we reinvest into the student site. We make no money. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay. Okay, so I know like on Instagram and Twitter, it's worth it to use hashtags. On Facebook, is it worth it to use any hashtags at all?
Usually no,
Okay, I didn't know.
unless it's something funny.
There's one in the Warriors.
Yeah, I think that I've been fighting that one. Questions?
Any other questions?
You guys just want to drink alcohol, that's cool too.
All right. Who's coming to the class tomorrow? All right, there's still time to sign up. I think that's it.
All righty, well, thank you guys,
Okay.
everyone.
Before we conclude, if you would be willing to share one of your top takeaways from tonight, capture that. So feel free to come downstairs and meet with him, ask him any questions. But if you have something to share, we'll capture that over here in this little alcove. And yeah, Brian.
I have one question. Can we see what happened with the Golden State Warriors post you posted?
Yeah, let's take a look at the Warriors post that we posted.
While he's pulling that up, I think these are one of those moments you kind of see kind of how complex this is, but how fast he goes through this. And I've never seen a presentation where he goes so quick through a website experience. And I'm going to steal these, no offense to him. But it's a good fork in the road to realize where and how fast this can go. So I encourage everyone to take a deeper dive tomorrow. There's some space available, not too much. And if you have friends or any part of your organization or agency you think want to be a part of this, I think we have a lot to learn, as we saw tonight. So I really appreciate Dennis. I want to give him a quick round of applause.
Actually, while he's getting this set up, there's really only one more thing to say to Dennis.
Thank you.
We have to give him $1.
That's right, that's right.
And what's he going to say back? $1 a day.
You got me. Okay, here is the ad I created. Yeah, we're going to put your stuff. So if you say your little one thing that you learned, we're going to collect all that and we're going to amplify you, because the best way to improve our marketing and mission is to actually uplift you, not about us. You never want to talk about yourself. It's like Fight Club or whatever, right? It's self-serving. It sounds bad. The best way to market is to say thank you. And so when we say thank you to you, that's actually helping us, because your success is proof that our stuff works. So we have, yeah, this is just getting going. 96 engagements, $18. This will eventually go all the way down to about a penny per interaction, but the system's learning. So don't be afraid that it starts off kind of high at 18 cents. It'll move all the way down.